Well, how would you respond in an active shooting situation? That question drew hundreds of people to the Georgia Public Safety Training Center. That's where the FBI is hosting a two-day conference on spotting a potential shooter and preventing tragedy. 41 NBC's Ashley Minnelli sat in on the first session of the day. She joins us from Forsyth with more on today's discussion.
What's interesting about the crowd inside the training center earlier today was that it wasn't just law enforcement agents or emergency responders. Educators from across the state were invited to participate in this discussion. I spoke with local and state agents who explained why it was so important to include those folks in on this very important conversation. We've seen the aftermath play out on our TV screens and can imagine the terror that follows when a mass shooter shakes a community like Aurora or Newtown. But how can you prevent the people who take lives into their own hands from doing so?
Preparation and planning is really key.
Atlanta FBI Special Agent in Charge Mark Giuliano says that's why law enforcement agents and school officials from across the state came to Forsyth for an active shooter symposium.
We have taken after actions from Aurora, after actions from Sandy Hook, after actions from the Sikh temple shooting, and looked at what worked and what didn't.
That information will help the people in this room better respond to and spot signs of a potential threat.
It's a very collective effort of trying to identify shooters to prevent the violence from ever occurring in the first place.
The FBI says some observable pre-attack behaviors to look out for are change in routine, extreme recklessness, and no thought of the future.
Killer Mark Barton.
Authorities believe that's what motivated Mark Barton in 1999 to shoot and kill 13 people, including himself and his family in Atlanta.
He had just killed 4 people.
That video reminds Bibb County Deputy Sheriff Clayton Williams of his friends who worked the case.
And it did have a lasting impact on the officers and the people who were there, so it was kind of hit home a little bit.
Since then, Bibb County Lieutenant Annette Horn says there's been more preparation for mass tragedies. She hopes that continues between schools and law enforcement.
God forbid if something like this would happen, that we'd all be ready to help each other.
Tomorrow's conversation will focus in part on evidence recovery. Law enforcement agents say it's important for teachers and administrators to be able to identify potential evidence in their classrooms and schools. They say that is a huge help in the aftermath of any mass shooting or other incident. Reporting in Forsyth, Ashley Minnelli, 41 NBC News.